Casual Magic has been brought to you by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can get cool stuff. Use the code CASUAL to get 5% off of your sale. And then also by Coalesce Apparel, where you can get really cool t-shirts and stuff, and use the code Casual Magic to get 10% off your sale. And by Architect, a deck hosting website that doesn't really sell anything, but they like me and I like them, so kindly use them. And now, on to the show. Hello and welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of Magic the Gathering. My name is Shivam, Bhatt, and Casual Magic is brought to you by Cool Stuff Inc., Architect, and Coalesce. You heard the spiel in the beginning in the little radio ad that I plug at the intro of the episode. I don't know why I repeat myself every episode. It's just part of the baked-in intro now. However, today is really cool because this past summer is like the most travel I've ever done for Magic, weirdly enough, I feels like. Or because like not locally, I went to Richmond, I went to Orlando, I went to Gen Con, I went to Canada, and I thought it would be really interesting to break down what it's felt like to come back to Magic after like 2 years of cloistered at home playing over spell table lockdown town. And who else to talk about that with than literally the one person in the world who makes me sound like a cloistered monk who can't get a word in edgewise, my dear beloved friend Tappy Toe Claws. Hey Taps, how's it going?
Hi. Well, I have been better. I'm not gonna lie.
That is fair.
But I mean, I'm not really one to like complain or like you can't keep a good dinosaur down too long. So I'm doing okay. I apologize for the fact that I sound like I swallowed a frog and may do a little bit of uh coughing. So if anybody has like a huge audio tick
I will
that's going
edit
to
those
be.
out. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Like,
Well, that's
remember, I
that's
can
right.
polish this show.
You're professional. You got that professional good
Well,
thing
it's
going.
also like when I'm listening back to the show when I'm doing the final edits, I get super irritated when I hear coughs and
Mm.
burps and like soda cans or whatever. And I'm just like, no, this will not be.
Oh,
And
cool.
there was a point in my early episodes where I was sitting there going like editing out fractions of seconds. I'm going to leave that there because I know you did that one on
I
purpose.
did that one exactly on purpose while you were talking.
But like I was getting
Edit
down to
this one
like
out, loser.
they're two individual tracks, Doofus. I can do that. I can just mute that chunk and nobody would ever know.
Dude, I
Um,
don't I don't know. You think I know how this stuff works? It's
I
all
was an audio editor professionally for a
I
while.
I
Um,
wasn't.
but yeah, it got down to like I was cutting waveforms and I'm like, okay, you know what? The only people who are going to hear this are literally me. Maybe I don't need to be like getting individual slices off. It's fine. Um, and it turned out it was fine. And now I can just edit the show in like an hour instead of 7, like it used to take me. Because it turns out when they're not paying you a salary to do this, you don't have to do it like they are. Um, okay, so yeah, so I wanted to bring on my dear friend Tappy because she is one of the few people who's been to like more events than me this summer. But I feel like nobody's been to as many as like Olivia has,
Yeah,
who's been to like
she's
literally everything.
uncatchable.
Yeah, but today Olivia's busy because there's another event that she's doing. But Tappy, how's your summer been?
Well, it's been busy. You're correct. But it's been good. So yeah, I think we both hit most of the same events because we did
We both
uh
did Richmond, Orlando, and Gen Con. So yeah, I
and
guess
Gen
so.
Con. I am
Did you
trying
do
to think.
Vegas?
I did Vegas in November. I did
Yeah,
not
so I
do
did that one
Vegas.
too.
I didn't do the Vegas in like the most recent one.
Yeah,
The
the
Vegas
Command
that was
Fest
mixed in.
Vegas.
Yeah, Command was it actually a Command Fest? I like literally don't remember the
Anything
name.
that was this summer except for Gen Con, all of them were Command Fests.
Okay,
So like
that makes sense.
I don't think I didn't go to Philly, I didn't go to Indy or Bellevue. Bellevue was obviously the same time
Yep,
as
I
Orlando.
I wanted to go to Indy because obviously it's a drive for me, which isn't
Yeah.
too bad. But it was actually one of the few weekends that I had that I didn't have anything going on. So I was like, I think I'm maybe gonna stay here with
Yeah,
my
maybe
dog
sleep,
and vibe,
do
which
some
is
laundry.
which is to be fair, like not something that past Tappy would have done. Like past Tappy would have been like, I got a free weekend, I'm driving to Indianapolis, but I'm glad I stayed home that weekend.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, I got to the point where I'm like, this is exhausting. Even just doing it once a month, I was like, how did I used to do this like all the time?
Mhm.
It's it's a lot.
Having that break in there, that, like, imposed, like, there are no events, you cannot go to things, and then kind of trying to hype back into the full swing, it definitely you
Oh,
kinda
it
definitely
takes
have
it
to
out of you.
reflect well, you kinda have to definitely, like, reflect on, like, you're like, "God damn, I used to just, like I used to just, like, do this."
Well, yeah, because I remember I was talking to Marshall, and he was telling me, he's like, "Yeah, man, it used to be every weekend I was at an airport going to a GP to do show, and like it was home for 3 days a week or whatever to do the podcast." And now you think about that, it's like, how much of your life have you just shoved into airplanes to go to Wichita or to go to anywhere that you're literally never going to see, right? Like you're
Yeah.
going to the whole the airport to the hotel to the con hall to the hotel to the airport back home,
Yeah,
and then you do your
you see a
laundry.
lot of Marriott lobbies and,
Oh yeah,
a lot of convention centers.
and you eat a whole lot of just fried cheese sticks, right? Like and con food. But that being said, the feeling of being able to just hang out with your friends in person who you haven't seen in person for like a year, 2 years, X years, some cases like first time ever, and just being able to be there in this atmosphere with your people is just such an uplifting and warming feeling. And like, I don't know, I mean, I took every event I went to this weekend, I mean, this year just made me so grateful to be part of this whole crew because one of the weird things I was thinking about the other day, because the fact that like you and me and Cass and Olivia and our whole like crew of friends,
Yep.
almost all of us basically went to like most of these events together. So it felt almost like, despite the fact that we all live like thousands of miles from each other, it's just like, oh, I'm just gonna hang out with my buddies next weekend again. And that's like super weird and awesome at the same time.
Oh, yeah, between you like, you and Olivia and Kessler and, like, that kind of crew, I feel
Yeah,
like
like
I have seen y'all more than I've seen some of my local friends who are not, like, like, people who are within, like, a 30-mile radius of me, I see probably less than Alex Kessler sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's been so trippy just to think about, like, I love Cass, he's one of my favorite
Oh,
people,
I
he let me
you will
crash
not
with him.
find somebody who loves Kess more than me, I will fight you.
I feel like his wife probably loves him more than either of us, but that being notwithstanding, there's a large Cass fan club here, he let me crash with him at Gen Con, it was one of the coolest, just such a joyful thing to hang out with the Cass crew,
Yeah,
and, like, seeing our people like Logan and, like, all of just everybody, it was just so much fun to hang with, and that's the part that I missed. I didn't miss the travel, I didn't miss staying at hotels, I didn't miss having to do all the, like, you know, all the other stuff that comes along with this, but
yeah.
just being able to chill with your buddies in an atmosphere that's non-judgmental, that you're just, like, able to be yourself off stage and just relax. That there's nothing like that.
Yeah, it is really truly, again, like, not to sound like broken records because we always like think we're the first person to ever come up with this, but like it does really truly feel like the gathering is back in the magic a little bit,
Right?
which I love. Not to get too sidetracked talking about like just our friends and our Alex Kessler fan club party of two, but
Facts.
the one thing that I was a little bit not like upset about because I completely understand logistically why these choices were made, but it was a little bit sad that all of the Command Fest came out within like a
Oh
what two
god.
and a half month radius,
Right?
or so like a lot of them because I would have loved to have gone to some and like met other people who are not my like usual crew.
Exactly.
I would have loved to go to have gone to Montreal because it's really actually it's actually like a very short flight for me to go to Montreal.
I wanted to go to
And
Birmingham.
yep, and I love the city, and it would have been really cool from a y- magic player perspective to go to a different place and get a feel
Right?
for a different part of the magic gathering,
Yes, very, very
and
yes.
that isn't just like my same friend, not that we like play much
No,
commander with each
like,
other.
literally, we don't. I mean,
No, we don't. We yeah, hang out and
because, like, think
just
about
do
it,
shots.
one of the things that, like, at every event, and I'm sure this happened to you too, people are like, "Oh, man, you're here, I'd love to get a game in with you," like, that's almost like the de facto greeting for when a fan meets,
Yep.
somebody on our side of the table, and that's well and good, but games of Commander take a long time,
Yeah.
and frankly, I would much rather spend all that time instead of being sitting in one table with a pod of 3 other people, meeting 30 other people, right?
Yes.
Like, going
And
around and
having
saying
those little conversations about like, oh,
anything.
like yeah, if you're ever coming up to a content creator, obviously you're more than welcome to ask us to play games. That's
Sure,
like
of course,
that's
that's what
not
we're
what we're
here for,
saying
right?
here. We just, especially when you're me and Shivam and you have a little bit of a large bit of the ADHD and you can't sit down and you want to do everything and be in every place at once. One of
Yeah.
the best things you can do is like come up to us. One, tell us like if we've interacted on like Twitter or TikTok, like please tell us who you
Tell me
are.
your name, for
Tell, not
God's
even your
sakes.
name, like
Your
tell me where
handle.
I know you from.
Yes,
Like yeah,
that,
like if
that.
you're a person who I might know, please just like say your name or whatever. Or be
Oh
like,
my god. Tappy, can I tell you something in tangenting off of your story? At GP
absolutely.
Richmond, there was the Baldur's Gate, there was a Baldur's Gate event, the pre-release, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
sitting at a
we were all
table.
out at the store, right?
Yeah, no, that was in Orlando.
Oh,
This
is it
was in
okay? Yeah, no, thank
Richmond
you.
was
You're
like the official launch
nope.
for everything.
Oh, that's right, because I missed that because I was stuck in LaGuardia.
Yes. And so, like, I'm sitting here at a pod with people and we're playing and we're drafting. And later on, after I got home from the show, they're like, oh, yeah, I follow you on Twitter. It was so great to play with you. I'm like, why the hell didn't you tell me? Like, I could have been talking to you like a human that I've interacted with. I know who you are. If you just say, yo, I'm Twitter, this is my handle or whatever, then I'm like, oh, of course, let's chat because I know everything about you. But otherwise, it's just going to be like, hey, 3 random people. And
Yeah,
then I look like a jerk for not having that interaction. And I'm like, tell me where you're from. Tell me who
yeah,
you are.
absolutely. So yeah,
Let me be your friend. Right?
yes, definitely. So number one, tell us what you want to be called. If you don't want to be called like guy from the internet
Yeah,
22, we don't have to call you that. We'll call you your name, but like let us know where you're
exactly.
from. So tell us that. And then tell us like if you're excited, if you like something that we do, or if you have a thing about yourself that you're like, I'm really known in my local group for playing 5 color stuff or something. Like I'm
Yes.
the mono white guy, or like I'm trying to get people's opinions on this. Like we
Check
love
out
that.
this
Like
Thopter's deck or something.
please,
It's like,
yes,
yes.
please give me like a point of reference for like what you want to talk to me about,
Yeah,
because
give me a hook that I can build into a conversation.
otherwise I will talk to you about what I ate for dinner last night. Like it, or it could be anything. It could be
It could
whatever
be whatever
thing
I
comes into my brain.
what Wikipedia article was I reading 10 seconds ago? You want to know about canning? Because that's what I got right now.
Right, absolutely. Like I watched 6 documentaries about like the
It's like, hey, congratulations, nice to meet you. This is my hyperfixation. Now you're going to learn.
yeah, it's and especially too because like we, most of us have like come from travel or whatever. So I queued
Yeah.
up like, I re-listened to Conquest of Bread on my way here. Do you want me to hear? Do you want to hear what I thought about Kropotkin? Because that's what you're signing up for. I played Stardew Valley and did a communism on the way over here, so don't worry about me. Um, but like so if you want to talk to us about something specific, you have to give it to us before we start. Otherwise, if you can't tell by the way that Shivam and I are, that is what you get in a
Like, because we especially are like extroverts. We love to meet people. We love to talk to people. I want to know everything there's to know about you. And then I want to share and revel in that. But if you don't give me something to build off of, you're getting the Shivam Express and
yep.
wherever that takes
You're
you.
getting you're getting 5 minutes of whatever I've got in the like.
Yeah, like
You'll
the
get what I
train is
have in
gonna
stock.
you
Like
are now on board the train. It's going somewhere.
yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then again, kind of part three of the again Tappy and Shivam's very elongated how to talk to content creators at events. Like part three is like, do not like if we have to be like, oh, it was so great to meet you, I gotta go. Don't take that as a personal thing.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not that you're coming on too strong. It's not that you're being rude. It's literally that we have like 25 fucking things. Sorry.
Well,
It's
it's
literally
true
that we
though.
have like 25 things to do, and chances are we have to be somewhere else, or we just saw somebody else that we like have to talk to about something,
Yes.
or like somebody we promised a game to. It's never like we just can't spend as much as I would love to spend like 25 minutes talking about like
Yeah.
every card in your deck that sounds legitimately very interesting to me. I just that's not a thing that I can do. Or like, and again, you kind of feel bad too, because like Shivam and I get brought as to these things as guests too. So like even if we are like
Mm.
very legitimately interested in like whatever you're saying,
We have responsibilities.
giving like a half an hour to one person is it like we feel a little bit bad about that
Yeah,
because
it's like it's rude to the the experience that other people want as
Yeah,
well.
because like cool stuff doesn't want us talking to like one
Just one
pod of
person.
people
Yeah.
and keep they want us to kind of bounce around and like make nice and be
Yeah,
seen
because, like, the whole reason
and
we're
do that.
there is that people as many people who want to can meet us, see us, we can talk to them, we can interact with them, we want you to feel good. Because I've been to a million of these as, like, a fan, and I love to be able to meet people who do the things I
Oh
love.
yeah.
But I've also been when I was younger, I was definitely that guy who would hang around the table a smidge too long and try to
Mhm.
monopolize their time because I'm fascinated. But as I've gotten older, I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I've had my time. Let somebody else get a question in. It's fine. If I want, I can just get back in line and ask another one later. Or, you know, I had my interaction and I'll just ping them on Twitter because they're all responsive, right? Um, it's just a matter of it's just impolite to everybody. And like when you're on our side, I mean, on the content creator or the guest side of these tables, our responsibility is to make sure as many people are having fun as possible, and
Yeah. It's a
folks who
hard
want to meet
juggling
us
act to
or
do.
whatever our sponsors want us to do because they paid for us to be there. And so sometimes it's like it's it's hard. I don't want to be brusque. I don't want to be mean because you've obviously come here to meet me, but at the same time, I can't. I didn't come to your house. I came to the show to meet many houses, right? Like so there's got to be a level of and also sometimes I'll say something like, "Yo, you know what? I can't get a game right now, but maybe if you catch me later, I can." Don't wait. Like that's
Yeah,
weird. Don't
absolutely. Like, don't feel like, yeah,
yeah,
it's
like
just
that's kind of like it's just I I will try.
yeah,
I never want to make a promise I can't hold. But also if you're just like hovering at my shoulder for 2.5 hours, that's not cool. That's just like a little uncomfortable. Um
yeah. We
but
we should we should definitely be like a very cool bonus that you get for going to these things.
yeah,
We should definitely not be, trying to make sure that Shivam hears like here's your whole statement on what you think red is in commander and foregoing like playing a game like playing a bunch of games with people who you could also be talking to
right.
because
Yeah,
those
we're not the
conversations are
event.
also yeah because those like conversations are also cool like it's also the kind of thing that if um like I mean I'm sure Shivam and I can attest like those that's why like I went to these events like
Yeah.
when before I people knew who I was I just like was like it's like I want to meet charming weirdos who like the thing that I do and start
Exactly.
conversations and talk about stuff and
Right.
again like you don't have to find like your best friends there and like some
No.
conversations you're gonna be like okay yeah you guys don't quite vibe with me I'm gonna go over here and then you find
Right.
people who are super cool and then you go play with them or whatever so
Yeah, but it's also just like it's cool to just like especially like and I can't speak for Tappy here, but like from my perspective on the CAG or whatever, when I'm sitting at one of these events, I want to see as many different kinds of commander as possible
yeah
because I'm trying to get an understanding of what people are doing and playing. And playing a game is less conducive to that than walking down the aisles and just watching a million games. Right? Like if I'm data collecting, I know what my decks do. I need to know what everybody else's do. Um, but it's also just I don't know. Like I don't mean this to be a bitching session because really the best part of these things is just getting to meet so many new and
oh
cool and interesting people. It's so
absolutely
much fun.
and it's more of a this is why like if you're
Yeah,
wondering why we talk to you for about like 3 to 5 minutes and then we kind of go like oh hey gotta go love this catch you later this is the
yes,
context as to why
exactly.
because we're trying to have as many of these conversations as possible
You
so
want to
that
make as many people's day as you can,
yep
right?
so that everybody can say like oh yeah hey I got to have a cool conversation with Tappy or Shivam or Olivia or whomever
Yeah,
um
Kibler,
Kibler, yeah,
Kessler.
absolutely,
I mean,
totally.
one of the weird things, like when we're on, like all these content
Buddy, do
creators
you
and stuff.
have to do that right now? You haven't
Look
looked
at
at
your
that
puppy.
thing for like 2 weeks, and now you're like, oh well, she's on her microphone, so I better play with the squeaky toy.
But here's the thing, right? Like, it's weird because like all these content creators have become my friends or were my friends before we were anybody, right? And so we're sitting here. Obviously, I want to hang out with my friends, but it looks a little weirdly cliquish because we're all content creator guests on the other side. But that's also not it. It's just a matter of I haven't seen my friends in 2 years,
Yeah.
the same way anybody else hasn't seen their friends in 2 years, and we just want to hang out. But one of the things is sometimes I just know that like I want to go chat up with Olivia because she's awesome and one of the coolest people I know. She has also got a flock of people around her. and a bunch of obligations and a line. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna let these other people have their chance because I'm whatever I'm gonna say is not nearly as important as somebody who's never gonna get to see her again because I
Oh
know
yeah.
that I can just go hang out later, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it's sometimes it's just like, we have to internalize because I'm a fan too, right? Like, it's weird. Like, one of the things about this summer is that Brian Kibler has been showing up to a lot of these like commander events because, reasons. And hilariously, I'm like one of the biggest Kibler fanboys there is in terms of just magic. Like, I love his dragon decks. I've been a fan watching his stuff for years and years and years. But at the same time, we're both here guests. We're both on equal kind of footing. Other people also want to meet the Dragon Master. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just not going to get a game in with him. And that's fine because let people who are never going to get this chance. I'm certain at some point in time I will be able to get a chance to hang out with Kibler. I don't need to sit there and fawn over him for 10 minutes. Somebody else can do that. But it's weird though, because I'm also a fan and I want to. I totally want to go and like, holy shit, I'm just standing here with Brian Kibler, take a picture of me, you know? And like, or like Sheldon or whatever. Well, I guess Sheldon's different because he's now a colleague and I can literally talk to him every day, anytime I want to.
Hmm.
But it's also I get that feeling because 'cause I'm like, "Oh my god, there's a famous person here that I really wanna know," and everybody's like, "But you're the famous person." I'm like, "No, no, I'm not. You don't get it. That person is way cooler than I am." Um, yeah, it's weird, like, when I first met, like, Kyle, science guy, and I'm just
Hmm.
like, "You're way cooler than me," and he's like, "Yeah, but we're both signing autographs at this table together." I'm like, "Not the point."
It's
Yeah.
not a competition, but if it was, you would be winning. Like,
Right, exactly. I'm like, "My hair doesn't do that yet." Um, I don't know, it was so cool. It was so much fun, but I can tell you right now, one of the worst things you can do at one of these big events is sign up for, like, single box sealed event or a mystery something. Like, don't do something that's gonna lock you away for 6 hours.
yeah, I mean,
Well, I mean, I
not
love single box events, not gonna lie, but it takes so long to open the thing.
it is a long time. But again, like that is absolutely some people's jam and the
That's true.
events the events do fill up. So if like
Right.
that's what
I
you
guess that
if that's what people are about, then that's what people are about. It's
I guess
just
that's more if you are like me and also have ADHD, understand your limits and don't sit yourself into an event where you're going to be tied down for a while. But again, I guess people play 18 round standard events, so who am I to talk? Uh,
yeah, again, there's obviously places for all folks at these. And again,
yes,
I'm honestly really glad because that's what speaking of like to borrow a point of Alex Kessler's, which I think is very valid, was one of the problems with the first round of Command Fests in like 2019 was that it was almost exclusively
right.
just Commander full stop.
Yes.
So sorry. So the fact that we have the
I'm not editing
combination
any one of these, by the way. I'm going to leave them all.
um, so the fact that we have events that now have box seals and we have some draft events and
Yes.
we have some limited and some ways that you can win
And,
tickets and do
CEDH
things.
pods you can get into and other things like that.
Right, because again, I mean, we obviously are biased to our own ideas and concepts of what these events are, but there are absolutely people who go who have no freaking idea who Shivam and I or anybody of these people
That's
even
the
are.
best, by the way.
And
Like,
they're just there. They're there to like play with their buds, or they're there. They're bringing one of their friends who's new to Commander, and all they want to do is jam games against people and play. And you know what? We don't talk to those people because they don't want to talk to us. But I think that's kind of rad. I think that's delightful.
one of my favorite, like, interactions was I was at, Richmond, and I was sitting down to play Mystery Booster Sealed. Now, Mystery Booster is my favorite way to draft and, like, my least favorite way to sealed, but anyway, that's not the point. The point, though, is that I was sitting there, and I'm playing against this guy, and his friends keep coming up to me and like, "Oh my god, can you sign this, or can you look at it?" And this dude has no idea who I am. We're just having a great game and just chilling, and afterwards, he's like, "So, who who are you? Should I know you?" I'm like, "No, it's fine. I'm glad we had a game, we had a good time. We can leave it at that and move on. I get to have these moments too. It's fine." Um, it feels good sometimes to just be like another dude playing Magic. Just
Oh yeah,
whatevs.
absolutely. Um,
Uh,
so
which one was your favorite of these holidays that we went to?
Well, they were all really different,
Yeah,
honestly.
they
Not
were,
to
weren't
not to
they?
be like that person, be like, I love them all. They were all so different, but they
Orlando
were
had
very
carpeting,
different.
and that made like the
So
world of a
yeah,
difference to
so
me.
even the difference between, obviously, Gen Con is an entirely different animal itself, and I have a
Yeah.
feeling we'll probably talk about Gen Con once we kind of get these command fests off of our system. But the difference, so Richmond was an SCG event, and it felt a lot like an SCG event, like
Mm.
Command Fest notwithstanding, which, again, not to say it's a bad thing, but it felt like other SCG events I have been to in the past.
Yeah, they had an
um
organization.
yep.
They had like pods firing. They had
And
meet at the Red
it was
Point.
definitely one of those things that there were a lot of the same people who went to all the SCG events at the
Yes,
thing, which was kind of nice. Like, I got to see a lot of my friends who were the SCG grinders who were
I'd
there.
never been to any SCG thing or
Oh,
East
that's
Coast thing
right. Yeah,
ever.
because I went to all
S-
the SCG cons, and
So
you
it
had
was
gone.
super cool to like meet like Brad Nelson and Corey
Hmm.
Baumeister for the first time, or
I
any.
got to put Nick Prince and Tomic again for cosplay purposes, so that was
Ye
fun.
yeah, and, like, getting to see, like, Jeremy Knoll, who I don't get to
Yeah.
hang out with because he lived on the other side of the world, and just, like, all the SEG folks, it was just so lovely to hang out with them and meet them for the first time.
Yeah.
That's the other
So.
real upside to all these things is that this time around, I went to places that are not literally the city I live in,
Hmm.
so I got to actually meet a whole new crop of Magic fans, which is rad, and see my dear
Definitely.
friend Charles from Alabama who or Mississippi or whatever, who comes up to these things and I rarely get to see, but I love hanging out with him every time we go to these events. Um, but yeah, that was cool too. Like just getting
Yeah.
to. You're right. There was a lot of SCG grinders there.
Yeah, so it felt more like an established kind of, like, oh yeah, this is SCG, like,
Yeah,
running back their stuff, because, again, like, they know what they're about.
they
They know
have a
what they're
plan.
doing.
They
They've done
execute.
thousands of these.
Yes.
I played no commander at SCG. I did not play a single game of Magic. Part of that was because I got stuck in LaGuardia for 22 hours.
Yes.
Um and when I got to the event, I Princess was waiting in my hotel room, and she's like, you can take a nap or you can go get food. You do not get to get in costume, and you do not get to go play Magic. And, like, thank God for Princess Weeks. She is,
She is so cool.
in addition to just being one of the coolest people that I know, and incredibly intelligent and, like, beautiful and wonderful. She also just is absolutely, like, knows when you have to be like the mom friend, and she's like, we are. What do you want to do? Nap or food? You get one. She's like, shower first, then nap or food. Take your pick. So we went and, like, got food or whatever, and then I finally, like, eventually got Enjoyra, and there were a lot of people there who were like, oh my gosh, like, can we get pictures or whatever? Because I was supposed to wear Elish Norn that day, so I already kind of felt bad because I threw that in, but, like, I was not putting on a corset and 6-inch heels after sleeping
Not
on the
after
floor
that
in
endurance
LaGuardia.
fest. No.
So yeah, I just wore Joyra instead because she's comfy. And there are so many people who are asking for pictures, and everybody, to be clear, everyone was super, super nice.
Yes.
Either they had already known because I had been tweeting about it, and other people had been, I'm sure, when people were asking where I was. Um, Everyone was so respectful. I didn't have a single person who was like, well, why can't I get a game of Commander or a picture or whatever? Or I took pictures of people, but I didn't sit down and play any Commander. Everyone was super, super chill about it. So that is
I
absolutely,
did come home and buy a copy of Uno Flip immediately.
yeah, Uno Flip, man.
That
It's
game,
good.
the game is hella good.
It's a
Um,
phenomenal game. It's perfect. It's like a perfect, like, it's competitive and, like, strategic enough, but it's
mm,
also like it's not going to overload you after if you have been playing Magic.
yes,
It's a good palate
it's a
cleanser
good
game.
cleanser. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's like I can get as into this as I want to, and it will be fine.
Yeah,
So
it was
yeah,
rad though,
it
because
so
like all the East Coast friends came, like Rebel. You got to hang out with Rebel, which is
mhm.
always fun. You got to hang out with like random CEDH crew from the far north, and it was like meeting people like I don't know Sinestro. It was just neat. It was neat to see all the people who showed up in Richmond.
Yeah.
Um,
And then in Richmond too, we had, like, the whole cosplay crew together,
yeah,
which was one of the other things that, because we had Sprankle, we had Olivia, we had me, we had Kat, and we had Vanessa. And
right.
I don't think I'm forgetting anybody. I
Oh
think
yeah, the
that's the
whole
five core.
yeah, that was a
Yeah, so we had, like, the whole SCG team back together, so that was really fun. Sprankle actually wore my Chandra costume, which was hilarious because then people were really confused at Gen Con when I wore it.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so that
It
was
was good
fun.
though because I hadn't seen Spranks in a long time.
Yeah, no, she had a good time. She's like, this costume is so dope. I was like, I know, like, there you go, have fun. So yeah, Richmond was really nice, and then, kind of by contrast, Orlando was definitely, like, a little bit smaller. It felt a lot more
Okay.
like, personal, and just, like, less of a it felt like less of a convention, whereas SCG felt like a bigger like convention. We were in like the big like
Right.
industrial convention hall, and then Orlando,
Was
which
in
I
like a
mean, again,
ballroom.
like prayer hands emoji was like in a ballroom in the Hyatt Regency, so that we didn't have to leave.
It
Like we could
was
just come
we could get in the elevator and
and
land in the con. It was
yeah, so
amazing.
that was really nice. And also the carpet was also really nice too,
Oh my god, it
because
turns out, like, I was telling the cool stuff folks, like, "Look, nobody is an asshole on carpet. When you're on carpet, it is hard to be mean to other people because 'cause you're feeling good about yourself." And, yeah, it was very small. There were only 600 people there. They had capped it on purpose to try to make it, like, much more small. They were like, "Look, we've never done this before. We wanna keep it
yep.
controlled and manageable." And I'm like,
When I think
"You
that
know."
was the way to go.
Yeah,
Obviously, there was definitely some bad feels when, and I heard about it too. Like not specifically, but I heard it kind of like while I was
grapevine.
passing around. You definitely got like the car of like the four magic people, and like only one of those guys bought a badge, and then like their
Oh,
three friends who are coming with them are like, oh, I hope we're gonna be able to buy badges, and then of course they didn't, and like freaking magic players showing up to an event with a hotel and like $80 worth of gas in their car,
and
but
literally nowhere
not
to
a
get
badge to
in,
the event. Oh my god, nature is healing. It is
all
we're
dressed
back
up
to
and
like
nowhere to go.
2017.
Right?
And I don't mean to make fun of these people in
No, that
particular. Like
sucks. That
we've
always
all
sucks.
been there, but that's such a
But
magic player fucking thing to do.
right?
Like just like, it'll be fine. We'll just show up.
I
So
have
I mean,
I've definitely been that person where it's just like, I show up to an event and I'm like, "I'm Shivam, I can get in." And they're like, "Yeah, you're Shivam, and you can't." But I mean, I brute force my way because I am who I am, but at the same time, boy, that was like a bit of a shock to the system for a lot of people.
mhm.
It sucked a little bit, but at the same time, inside the event, everybody was in good behavior.
Yeah.
They were really kind. The artists were really cool. It was good to meet like Ryan Pancoast and Tyler
Mhm.
for the first time. Andrew Marr.
Andrew Marr, yeah,
Jesus
who didn't
Christ,
go to
that
a lot
dude's
of
going to work.
events.
What?
Yeah, it was fun. I got to go to dinner with him, so
Yeah,
that
very
was
cool.
yeah, it was very fun. So yeah, Orlando was definitely had a different kind of vibe, but they're both good. It's nice because it's nice to be able to talk about both of them in kind of comparison, but also not necessarily in a negative comparison. They just felt like very different kind of takes on the same event.
Yes.
Um, so I think that's kind of nice. I wish there was a way that that could be kind of that could be more evident in the way that the events are advertised, I guess, because I think there are people who wouldn't necessarily have enjoyed the SCG kind of like old school, like traditional, this is a magic tournament feel, but they would have really liked Orlando.
Mm,
And
yes.
counterpoint, I think there were a lot of like traditional magic players who were going for like a magic event like we used to have, who would have gone to Orlando and then been like, huh,
What is this?
like this is, yeah, like this is definitely different from what I, so I don't, and again, I don't have the answers for that. I think it's good that they both exist. I think in a perfect world they would both exist. There'd be something kind of in the middle, and then also there would be a way for the event to, and again, obviously I don't know, the events are capped. I don't know if it's said anywhere on the websites or registration like what the event cap was. um but TOs, if you happen to be listening to this, more information about what your event is and kind of the vibe, uh, that yeah,
Yes.
that's good stuff for people to know, especially as somebody who, again, like carpeting in a room makes all the difference for people if they have any kind of like disability, where like, and again, like I don't talk about this often because like I got off pretty well, but like I've got a really bad hip, and so like me standing on concrete all day is actually like way different than me standing on carpet all day. And if there are people with other kind of similar like body issues, then that could also be a huge deal. So that's very cool stuff to be on there. So
Very cool stuff, Inc.
yeah,
Sponsor
very
of the
very
show.
very very cool information to have out
Yeah, no,
somewhere.
and, like,
Finger
but
guns.
you're exactly right, though, like, the vibe there was totally like, I didn't do any event at, Orlando because I was meeting people or I was just hanging
Yep.
out or I was playing games, but, like, I didn't feel the kind of like, "Oh, I should go and jump and, like, do the mystery booster, or I should do
Hmm.
double master draft," or whatever. I was just more hanging out, and we had, like, lobby cons and tappy cons and whatever, and after hours hanging out, just chilling with your friends is it reminded me of being in, like, high school and college again, going to anime
Yeah.
cons and, like, chilling with buddies afterwards. But, yeah, like, I think I think these events are all showing growing pains. There's a lot of
Oh
places to
yeah.
go, but it was really cool to just have that again.
Yeah, to have them all going for sure.
Yeah.
And growing pains are to be expected too.
Yeah, like
I don't think every event has to be perfect, especially because the things that we knew that were tried and true from before the COVID times are definitely not going to be the stuff that people either like want or like realize that they need in a post-COVID world either. So,
exactly. Yeah, and I mean, I wish there was more masking, but
yeah.
that's an issue of personal responsibility and not the con or the guests. We all wore our masks.
Yep.
Um, but it was just like Gen Con was rad because Gen Con had like almost 100% masking.
Yeah.
Everybody had like their vaxes checked. It was like it felt really safer, even
Yes,
though I
and
realized
it was pretty efficient too.
yeah,
Like I was a little bit worried cuz I got in Wednesday night. And a lot of the cuz I was working the Ultra Pro booth for context. So a lot of the other people from the booth or who were staffing like the Kesco people all got their vax checked on Tuesday when like all the vendors were doing it, but then I was like, "Oh god, me and every other asshole who's here with their will call badge is getting it checked." But me and Princess got through in like 35-40 minutes. It was a long ass line, but it like constantly moved and
yeah, like that thing. The
they were
line
efficient.
Yeah, the line was very long, but the line was also not like the line was long, but it moved,
Yeah.
right? Like it felt like playing a game of Snake if you ever
Yep.
did that back 30
Which
years
again,
ago.
honestly, like I think I'd rather be like walking the whole time than like
Yes,
stuck and like not moving.
just
So
not moving.
yep,
Yeah, it
I'll
was
give it
moving.
that.
And we got through. And like just like your Richmond, you didn't play any Magic. I didn't play a single game of Magic at like Gen Con.
Oh, I
I
didn't
was
play
there
any
for
at Gen
board
Con.
games. I was there for just hanging out
Yeah.
and obviously launching a Dragonlance novel. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and
yeah,
I was working too,
yeah,
so
exactly.
Gen Con was funny. It's always funny going from especially to Command Fest events when like I was literally a like creator there. Like they had
Right,
my
like a
face.
featured
People wanted
guest.
to come and like meet Tappy Toe Claws. Whereas when I was working at the Ultra Pro booth, people were just like, "Oh, there's cosplayers in outfits," and like some people knew who we were. But
Yeah,
there were plenty of people who were just like, "Oh, hey, there's like people who are dressed up. Let's just go get pictures, right?" And
yeah,
like
exactly.
didn't
It
even
was
register.
it
It
was
was
really
it was
cool.
it was funny having Olivia dressed up as Nissa though, because a lot of people were like, "Who's that Nissa?" Like,
Dude, I was like, "Who's that Nissa?" Because I didn't know she had a Nissa.
well,
I
yeah,
didn't know that she'd ever done that.
yeah,
Like,
it was
because
yeah. Well, Ultra Pro wanted Chandra and Nissa there, so we made
well,
it happen. We made it work.
sure, why not? I
Yeah,
mean, because like, I think whenever I think Nissa, I think of like, I don't know, Ashlyn or something.
yeah,
But it was just like, "Oh, that's cool." Um, I don't know, it was weird because it was nice to be in a place where people didn't necessarily recognize me for Magic, and we could just
yep,
hang out and talk about Dragonlance or whatever it is. But one of the funniest stories that happened to me is I was going to a board game booth. My badge is backwards. I wasn't wearing any magic paraphernalia. I had a mask on, and I'm at a booth which is run by Japanese people to buy a Japanese board game. And I go and pick it up, and I'm just like handing money over. I'm like, "Can I see the instructions for this other game? I just want to read it." And then a dude from the back of the booth snaps his head forward, looks at me a little bit strangely, and walks up. And is like, "Are you Shivam?" And I'm like, what the hell? How the hell did you know? I'm like, yes. Like, I looked down. I'm like, there's nothing. And I'm like, what is going on? He's like, oh, I listen to your show and I follow you on Twitter and I'm a big fan. I'm like, you have completely caught me off guard, sir, because I've never been just uh, called out to the light like that, which
hmm
was neat and different, especially at Gen Con, a place where I'm just not expecting. Like, we're we're moderately sized fish in a pretty small pond when it comes to magic.
yeah,
Outside of that, we are nobodies,
yeah.
and
Oh,
that's
for sure. Yeah,
it's great.
Gen Con's a big ocean
Oh, yeah,
of
Gen Con
nerd
is like
people.
the universe, man. How was your Gen Con? Because I know that I was working Cast booth and you were working Ultra Pro, so
Yep,
we only saw each other a little bit.
but
Yeah,
no,
we did
it
we only hung out, like, the one evening too even.
um
Maybe one?
yes,
Yes.
yeah. It was kind of a blur.
Yeah, it was a lot.
But yeah, I mean, Gen Con was good. I mean, for full disclosure, like I did get COVID somewhere at Gen Con. I don't think it was the floor, and
Are you sure
luckily,
it wasn't, like, just out from
I
the
mean,
thing you did the
yeah,
weekend before?
exactly. I'm not gonna pretend that I was perfect. I definitely had my mask off around people. We were eating, we were
Yeah.
drinking. I don't blame anybody but myself. Obviously, like, I'm not, I'm not trying to say I did all the responsible things. I
Yeah.
told everyone I saw. I made sure everybody knew knew
Yeah,
that
yeah.
um, obviously, if it was kind of one of those things that I was coming home to somebody who was um vulnerable or something like that, I would have been either more diligent or I would have like made different choices.
Yes.
It happens
Well,
like
that I mean, it happens. What are you gonna do?
yeah, absolutely. Like again, like I am obviously in a privileged position where like I'm double vaxxed and boosted. I feel kind of crappy, but I think I'm already kind of on like back on the upswing. So I
Yeah.
mean, it is what it is, and it sucks that like that's the choice that people have to make with these events, right? Like,
That is the world we live in now, which
yeah,
is weird and sad that we as a culture have decided that this is a battle we want to just concede. And I'm like, it didn't have to be like this.
no, it definitely didn't. I mean, there were people who were definitely more diligent about masking, and like when they ate, they went back to their room and they ate by themselves, and then when they were
Yes.
done eating, they went back downstairs with their mask on to like hang out with their friends, and like that's definitely the better way to do it. I'm not
Yeah.
advertising
Right.
that people should have done it the way that I did, but
But also at the same time, I don't think that I have the self discipline to be able to do something like
and
that.
that's exactly where I was at too. Is like, and part of it too is like that's part of my Gen Con experience is hanging out with my friends and trying to
That's not part. That is my Gen
yeah,
Con experience, right? Like
absolutely.
that's the point. The point is for me to sit
So
down with like the One More Mana crew while you guys are painting Olivia or whatever and teach them how to play some random jank board game that I learned 10 minutes ago that I'm now the
absolutely.
biggest evangelist for. By the way, those guys
The
are
One More Mana guys are amazing.
I
They're
met them for the first time in
in Orlando in my
yeah,
hotel room probably.
in Richmond and then in
Oh,
Orlando
yeah.
and then at Gen Con.
And then at Gen Con. No,
Yeah, but
I love them. Ken and Derek and Sed are just phenomenal
they're
human beings. Just
dude, Derek surprises me every time I talk to him. I'm like, how is this doofy dude like, genius level? Like, what the hell is going on?
we
But
also figured out that he's about my size, so we're gonna try to put him in some cosplays.
that's I don't know if I'm mentally ready for that.
So yeah, I'm excited. I love putting my costumes on other people. So
Yeah.
um if I can, I absolutely will. Like,
Seeing him in like hellish Store would be so.
well, not Elish Norn. I'm thinking more like Oko. Like,
Yeah, sure, I could see.
so yeah,
Yeah,
but
well, when you said I could put him in my costume, I'm thinking like Well Wisher and Hellish. I'm like, the poor
I
guy.
was Nettle Sentinel. Olivia was
When
Well
you
Wisher.
dude, you know what? The 3 of you were, like, my literal 3 favorite elves, and I've gotten it wrong every single time.
You just kind of mash us all together in
I'm
your
just like,
brain that
"Look,
we're all the
you are my
same.
pauper elves deck, whoever you are, you can figure it out." Um, you guys, you sort it out amongst yourselves.
Yeah,
Um, man, what a good summer, though. Just so good to see everybody. It's
yeah,
so good to just hang out, and
absolutely. And it yeah, and Gen Con, and again, like I got COVID. It happened. I went to 3 events, and I mean, Cat, like our friend who is a nurse, got it at she got it like on the plane probably
oh,
when when she was kind of trying to figure out where it came from on Richmond, like when she was thinking about it, like she got on the like probably most likely it was one of the faster strains, she probably got on the plane.
the
So
planes are the worst.
it
That's
does
like
just suck. Yeah, well, and that's honestly, I wonder again. I'm not gonna like, think about it in terms of just there.
apologizes.
It's not useful. Like I gave all my friends the information that they needed to make sure that they either like quarantined or tested or didn't go see somebody who maybe was gonna get
Yeah,
sick.
I know. I mean, like, look, we hung out a lot, and I definitely don't have COVID, so
Yeah.
it worked
No,
out.
it's and again, like I'm not trying to like get like pity points or anything. It's just one of those things of like you can absolutely there are responsible things that you can do even if like that you can't be perfect. Like
Yeah.
obviously I could have also just like sat here and been a sad sack and like not told anybody, but like no, I do kind of think it's my job as somebody who like people know in the community to like the first thing I did in the morning once I tested positive was like I told my boss and I'm like can't come into work today, definitely have COVID. And then I tweeted like, "Hey internet, if you saw me, I have COVID, maybe get yourself checked, or if
I
you
mean, that's
have
a
a little bit of,"
responsible thing to do, right?
yeah, and it absolutely is. And I think somebody I saw a tweet. Unfortunately, I can't remember at all who it was. But somebody said that like there's definitely like two stories to this. It's like you can't get mad at like the disabled people or people who are immunocompromised who are like, yee, Gen Con scares me. Like, that's valid. But also, like, if people get COVID, you also can't, like, it could happen to anybody. It could happen going to the grocery store. Like, I mean, I had to go to freaking Mexico for my brother's wedding, which was like a whole crazy thing because it was a whole family event. I did not get COVID going to Mexico. Kyle got it at work. Well, I was gone. Like, it's a highly infectious disease, and our government doesn't seem to care about it anymore.
Yeah,
Um,
this is the it's a world we live in, and if we're gonna have events like this, then you've got to
yes,
be able to take the proper precautions and do the things that feel right for you and for your family, and try to make this as reasonable as possible. I guess it's like
yeah, and
I
like
mean,
just yeah, like honestly, I think the best thing to do is to make sure that because and again to be clear, I tested twice before I went to Gen Con, and I was negative both times, and I felt completely fine. No symptoms, negative tests all around. And I'm now doing the thing too where you when you take the home test where you swab the back of your throat as well.
oh yeah,
Um,
I started doing that too, and I was like, this is way like all of my medically inclined people were like, that's where all the gunk is, dude.
yep,
The front of your nose is fine, well and good. The back of your throat's where everything lives. And I'm like, that's
yeah.
that seems reasonable.
So
That's where you go
I
check for strep and stuff. So
Yep. So in addition to masking when you can, trying to be as safe as possible, I think also another critical part that I don't know if I've seen as many people talk about is like when you get back, you have to have a plan for like what happens if I do have COVID.
yes.
Which luckily, like, I mean, I like I did, right? Like, I had told I had told work that like if I will make sure that I test on Sunday night, Monday morning, see where I'm at. If I feel gross, and I like when we were driving back, I started to get a little bit of like
Mm,
the like literally like the last 30 minutes of the car ride was like when the little sad wheezy cough started to happen. Um,
yeah.
so like I both Kyle and I just kind of looked at each other. We're like, well, that doesn't sound good. And so yeah, and I'm lucky. Like I've got a place to be. I've got more tests. I've got Gatorades and a dog to take care of me. And luckily, I've got plenty of friends who are. I already had a friend do like a grocery run and stuff. But I think like that is also an important thing. Is like if you have COVID and you get it from an event, like
Tell everybody.
you have to tell everybody. Like you don't need to get defensive. You don't need to get mad. Just make sure the people know who know so that like somebody doesn't go see their grandma afterwards, right?
Precisely.
And like, even if the CDC is whatever, like just fucking just stay in your house for 5 days like if you
Yeah.
can. I know and sadly I know that's not a thing that everybody can do cuz like I have a job that like they were like don't come near us for 5 days. So
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
really unfortunate
within
that
reason, do the best you can.
yeah.
Because, like, if we're stuck with this, if our governments have ceded control over what's going on, and we want these events to continue, then we need to do it in such a way that we're not killing the people who go.
Well,
And
and yeah, and like again, like to be full disclosure on like the side of me and Shivam, like we get paid to do these events. Like me going to these events is a part of like the money that I count on having too.
right, this is like
So
part of what I do to pay my bills, right? Like,
yeah, so it is one of those things of like we obviously have an incentive to like kind of plan our risk management around that in the same way that like people who go to work at high risk places also have. I mean that's what we're doing. We're going to work. And like yeah, sad like this is the unfun part of the podcast, but I think it's also part of the podcast that we're like we should be responsibly talking about, right? I think it would be
yeah, like, this
negligent
is
if
the
we
real
didn't
truth,
talk
right?
about like what could happen, right?
Right, like, that's exactly the point. It's like, look, these events are not risk-free. These are
Absolutely
gigantic
not.
events where you're inside a big room full of people sitting very close to each other who are basically talking all the time because 'cause we're playing Magic, and we're
Yeah.
playing the most political version of Magic, and we're also just BSing because we're at a con and hanging out. And then you're also gonna, like, eat, and you're going to drink water, and you're gonna drink from your Gatorade, and things are going to happen.
Well,
This is
and
just like, you have to be able to mitigate as much as you can from your end, and then accept that sometimes you're just gonna roll a 1.
yep. And as Shivam and I, we kind of already alluded to it. We are like old school con kids too. I
Yes.
mean, you remember when we used to go to anime cons, people would just come back and they just called it con crud.
Yeah,
Cause like
exactly.
you don't sleep, you eat like crap, you're around a ton of
And you're
people,
like you come home and you're knocked out for, like,
and you
3
come home and you're
days.
knocked out for 3 days. And at least now people are like realizing that like and again, I'm sure there are people who like feel like shit and don't have COVID, and what they have is just a cold or something, right?
or
It's
just
just,
yeah, like
but and I mean, the nice thing is less people are coming home with that because they're not
right,
like touching
exactly.
everything and
That's the
wearing
thing, like,
masks.
before it's like you're shaking hands with everybody, you're hugging people, you're
You're
picking things up,
glomping people.
you're glomping people. Yes, Jesus, thank God for that ending. If
Yeah,
COVID
right.
brought us one thing, saved me from glomps, God. But, like, all of these things are just like germ factories, and we would come home from, like, Gen Cons and PAXes and just die for, like, 3 days
Yep.
with, like, some miserable flu, and now it's like, "Okay, well, look, we're all carrying hand sanitizer, we're all wearing face masks." A lot of the normal things that would knock us out after a con don't anymore, and
Yeah,
I am just thanking my gods for not for for sparing me from this nonsense. Um,
absolutely. Yeah, thank
but
your gods for me too, by the way.
yeah, but, like,
I
that
like
being
it.
said, it's just like, you know what, man? It's worth if it's in your ability, if I don't want to put people into danger who can't. I don't want to say, like, "Oh, immunocompromised people should stay at home." I mean, like, you guys know what's best for you and your family and make decisions accordingly, and but if you do go back, it's just nice that the attitudes and the awareness and like the kind of atmosphere of these places has become much more kind and much more
Yes.
nice, much more like people are like very much appreciative of being able to be back here again. Like even when people got salty, they weren't like, I'm not playing with, it was more like,
Yeah,
it
I
happened.
did notice it was definitely there was a more of, yes, it was a little
More
softer, a
camaraderie,
little bit
right?
more gentle. Yeah, people were just more willing to kind of give other people the benefit of the doubt. And like one more thing kind of feeding into that from on the COVID perspective is like if Gen Con was obviously like a big event. Gen Con was a major thing.
Yeah,
But
Gen Con was
but
the big deal, right?
the smaller Command Fest and stuff did not seem as much of a risk taking endeavor for sure. And even
Yes.
in Orlando too, where because it was in Florida, we did not have a mask mandate in the event. It was something that cool stuff could not do. um it was
Thank you,
not
Ron
in
DeSantis.
it was not within their power to do so because of the horrible political situation down in Florida. Make sure you get out and vote. But all of my opponents who I was like, hey guys, can we put masks on while we play, please? Or people who like were like, "Hey, can you take your mask off for a picture?" I was like, "No." Like nobody was weird about it. So,
Yes.
if you are at one of these events or any kind of magic event like anywhere in the near future, I don't think it's unreasonable for you to be like, "Hey, like maybe don't touch my cards. Like can I touch my cards for you instead?"
Yes.
Or like, "Hey, if you're going to touch my cards, I have some hand sanitizer. Can you use some?" Or if you're sitting down with someone and you're like, "Hey, I'm wearing a mask. Can you wear one?" And then they're like, "No, I don't want to wear a mask." You're like, "Okay, then I'm gonna leave. Like, I'm gonna go up and sit by somebody else
Yeah.
and play." That is one nice thing about open play. I think that is completely reasonable. Like, you shouldn't.
Everyone I met in every event I went to where I was sitting down to play a game, if I was wearing a mask and they weren't, they
Hmm.
always would be like, "Yo, would you like me to wear a mask? I don't mind." I'm like, "I would love that, thank you."
Yeah,
And they
please.
do, and it's great, and there's, like, no problem. It's like 10 minutes, I mean, it's like an hour of your life, it's fine, and I don't know, I appreciate that so much. I appreciate people who care about other people.
Yeah,
Like, that means a lot to me, right? Like, that goes a long way for me that, like, you're at least considerate about the other people's, like, the fact that I don't know, other people, period. You're
yeah,
considerate about other people.
yeah.
Like, it doesn't need to have more than that. Um,
100%.
oh, man. But it was good to see you again, Tappy. You're one of my
Oh,
favorite people. Hanging out with you is such a joy. And, even if you keep us all up way too late and think that we're 20 instead of closer to 50.
yeah. On Saturday again, like I can't blame myself for getting COVID. On Saturday night of Gen Con, I came back to the hotel room an hour before Olivia woke up. Like I came back and then an hour later Olivia got up and went to the gym. Like
Oh, god.
so,
Ah,
I that was but that was my like that's quintessential to my Gen Con experience
yeah,
is
you know
like
what,
is
though?
doing that. So
If you're ever in Tappy Circle and you're hanging out, you are going to have a hell of a
you're
time.
going on a ride.
Oh, it's gonna be a good time. But you know what, my friend? This has been it's been fun talking to you again.
It
It's been
sure
fun just
has. I
remembering
made
these
it
things.
through most of it without coughing too much too.
Yeah,
So
but I don't want to kill you, and so,
I appreciate it.
like, I'm looking at the soda cans over there going like, "Please don't drink more."
No,
So,
no, this is water.
Okay, well, good. All right, so then I'm going to, while you're drinking, make you do your plug. So, Tappy, if people wanted to find you or do whatever, what do they do? The thing.
I am Tappy Toe Claws basically everywhere on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok,
I was thinking of starting a
Patreon,
TikTok.
everything. Dude, do it. It would be good. Like the only like millennials, like old people like us who are good at TikTok are people with ADHD, if that serves any indication. So you'll do great. You should definitely do it. You should definitely do it. I'm honestly like pretty shitty at it. But it's fun. Like I enjoy kind of bashing my head against something and being
Fair.
sort of gnarly at it. So
Cool. And as always, my friends, you can find me at Gear Report Gears. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are sold, or at Cool Stuff Inc. on Tuesdays, or at YouTube on Thursdays. Thank you, EK. And remember, my friends, especially after this summer of Command Fest, it's not magic without the gathering. And we will see you next time.